What is a furry? You've probably heard about them before, in the local news, on TV, or most likely on the internet, but you've probably never heard a solid definition of what one is. Allow me to explain. So furries are members of the furry fandom. In case you don't know, a fandom is a group of people who are a fan of something. For example, there's a Star Trek fandom who are fans of Star Trek, and they're called Trekkies. So what exactly are furries fans of? Furries are fans of anthropomorphic animals, which basically means human-like. You've probably seen the root word anthropo in things like anthropology and anthropocentric. And a human-like animal can range all the way from Todd from Disney's Fox and the Hound, who can speak and has human-like intelligence, all the way to Disney's Robin Hood, where the animals also have human-like physiques. Furries group these two types of anthropomorphic animals into two categories, ferals and anthros respectively, although they're technically both anthropomorphic. People who like ferals are the minority of the fandom, as most furries gravitate towards the full-on human-like animals such as those from Disney's Zootopia. So we've established that furries are fans of anthropomorphic animals, but what exactly do furries do? Most fandoms revolve around some kind of creative work, like Doctor Who or the aforementioned Star Trek, and people participate in those fandoms by consuming the media that they're a fan of. But anthropomorphic animals is such a broad topic. What do furries do other than watch the aforementioned Disney movies? Well, there isn't one answer. In fact, we could stop the video right here if we wanted to, because liking anthropomorphic animals is the only entry requirement to be a furry. Anything else is optional, but I'll tell you about some of the more popular things doing the fandom, but just keep in mind that not all furries participate in these things, and nor do you have to consider yourself a furry. And yes, I'm reading off a script. Don't make fun of me, please. The primary thing that most furries do is create a furry character of themselves, which is usually how they envision themselves to be if they were an anthropomorphic animal. This character is commonly called a Fursona. Okay, look, I didn't make the name, okay? Although sometimes furries will change features to make more idealized version of themselves, such as a different body type or a more extroverted personality, most furries just superimpose a carbon copy of their personality and their physical attributes onto an anthropomorphic animal. More or less. And as I'm sure some of you know, some furries like to take this a step further and actually dress up in animal costumes of their character. Now, oftentimes on TV, these costumes, called fursuits, are represented to be cheap things you buy off of Amazon, but in reality, they're intricate works of craftsmanship that often cost upwards of $1,000. Fursuits may include features such as eyes that use an optical illusion to make it look like they're always looking at you, various lights, ventilation systems, and more. People have built entire small businesses around taking fursuit commissions, such as Made For You and Don't Hug Cacti. However, it is actually a minority of furries who own a fursuit, partially because of how expensive they are, and partially because many furries just don't have an interest in getting one. But why exactly would someone want to dress up like a giant animal? Well, many different groups and fandoms take up the act of cosplay, or costume play, which has significantly taken off in popularity since the 1990s, but has roots in century-old traditions, from the sci-fi Victorian look of steampunk, to vampires to various anime characters, to the even common Star Wars stormtrooper outfit. Cosplay takes many forms, and fursuiting is one of them. The broader question is, why do people cosplay? One answer is that it's fun to live as a character other than yourself, if only briefly. The experience of roleplay is enhanced by costume, and since most furries have a fursona, as mentioned before, the roleplay is central to the fandom. Part of the roleplay perspective is anonymity. Fucking shit, dude. Anonymity. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Part of the roleplay perspective is, anonymity. Yep, that one. The furry fandom tends to draw introverted types, so having a costume that completely hides their identity allows for a degree of self-expression they may not be comfortable with otherwise. Artwork is also central to the fandom, and fursuits are just one more dimension of that. For many, the most fulfilling part about fursuiting is the process of creating them, either for themselves or for others. Furry conventions typically host fursuit competitions where suits are judged for their quality and artistic merit, and fursuit photography takes place constantly. And finally, speaking of arts, furries love all forms of art, from drawn art to stories to music to the aforementioned fursuits. There are some incredibly skilled artists out there in the fandom, producing fantastic pieces of art in a variety of unique styles. There's also prominent writers such as fiction writer Kyle Gold, or the writers of various furry comic strips such as House Pets, Ozzy, Millie, and Two Kinds. And there's also prominent furry musicians such as Renard, the creator of Lapfox Tracks and subsequent aliases, Wolfgun, and Foxamore. One important thing to note is that furries are different than otherkin, or Therians as they're also called. Therians or otherkin are people who spiritually believe that they have the soul of an animal, or that they were an animal and now they're reincarnated as a human, or any number of things along those lines. While many Therians are furries, it's a minority of furries who are Therians. They're very different things. One is a very serious spiritual thing that people take seriously, and furry, on the other hand, is a silly fandom where people just pretend to be animals just for the heck of it. Which may be hard to relate to, but it's at least, you know, a few steps down from saying, oh yeah, I'm literally a wolf. Come at me, bro. So, I mean, don't confuse them. People confuse them all the time. They're different things. Just please, just listen to Benedict Cumberbatch and do your research, okay? Thank you. Now, at the end of the day, furries are a pretty weird subculture. Nobody's gonna deny that. But hey, there's no harm in it. In fact, quite the contrary, because at furry conventions, they often raise thousands of dollars for great causes. And despite it being an odd interest to have, many furries are actually successful professionals. There's furries who work at Google, I've met air and space defense systems engineers, directors of photography, architects who design luxury apartments, students at Princeton and Carnegie Mellon. I have a friend who got his PhD in biology from Columbia. Heck, the chairman of the world's largest furry convention got his PhD in chemistry from Dartmouth. In fact, there's even furry creators here on YouTube who are popular, like Saul Wolf and Verlisophy. So, although it's odd, at the end of the day, who cares? It's cold now. It's disappointing. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped. If you enjoyed this, please check out my other videos. I do videos like this where I do a discussion or a rant or an informative topic, and I also primarily do Let's Plays, so feel free to check those out. I'd really appreciate it. Either way, thank you for watching. Have a great day.